How many are joining the meeting?
It's just you and me, Greg.
Oh, okay.
these are these
Oh,
are all one-on-one meetings.
all right.
How you
Can you
doing?
see?
Yes, sir.
I am
Now I
in.
can't. Oh,
I
you're in
just
what?
got. I just got to my daughter's house in Tampa, Florida, and coming. We just got here from Chattanooga to see my grandson. He's 5 weeks new,
Congratulations.
so we're excited. Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. What a great trip to take. Did you
All
say
right.
Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, Tampa's beautiful. I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, lot traffic, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Tampa and St. Pete, that whole area is just, it has just blown up, crazy, a lot of traffic. Well, anyway,
Well,
so
you should have gotten some emails with some links to some videos to watch prior to this meeting. Did you get a chance to watch them?
I did not get a chance to watch all of them and all the way through.
Okay.
So I have not. I've read through a bunch of the verbiage around some of the ads and so forth. So heard some of the things that some of the other contractors have experienced and that type of thing.
Okay. Do you have any specific questions for me?
No, so I've done. I've in another life. I worked with federal government. I've done contracts in the technology and office supply industry. So, like with Oak Ridge, Arnold Air Force Base. Gosh, who else was on the Fed side? There was another one. Anyway, so I've had some experience working with the federal government and doing contracts. These weren't huge contracts, probably like that you guys, but they were, $1 million to $3 million contract.
Sure. Yeah, well, you got a guy on the line here that's done 1,000 federal contracts that generated $1 billion in revenues. So,
And I know the opportunity. How we got it, one of the contracts. So I used to work for Staples on the commercial side, and so we would use a diversity supplier. It's kind of like a pass-through, right? We would work with a diversity vendor for Oak Ridge, and that diversity supplier was up in Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland, and their office was in a hub zone, and they would contract with Oak Ridge, and they would use Staples as their fulfillment engine. So we didn't actually work directly, but we were really the face of the contractual relationship, kind of like the go-to.
sure.
So I don't know if you've done contracts like that or not, or
I have bought things and resold them to the federal government. Sure. Forklifts, office equipment. Sure, absolutely.
so that's my experience.
Yeah. Well, I try to focus on the construction side of things because, the federal government owns these million buildings across the United States.
And that's where I'm at. I'm no longer in that. I'm in the construction industry.
Yeah.
So,
And,
I recognize the opportunity. That's what drew me to when I saw you guys on, I guess it was probably either Facebook or something.
Sure. And generally speaking, since you didn't get a chance to go through the videos that I usually people have watched prior to this meeting, but the general idea is that the economy is constantly shifting. The economy goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But the worst recession of all time was 1929. We called it the Great Depression. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt solved that, you may remember from the history books, with the New Deal.
Right.
But what was the New Deal? It was federal government contracts, roads, bridges, and dams.
Right.
So he saved the economy in 1933. Then in 2008, Obama comes in. We had that last recession in 2008, 2009. And he issued $150 billion worth of federal contracts. It was called the ARRA, American Reinvestment Recovery Act. But he was basically doing the same thing that FDR did. We'll issue a bunch of federal contracts to save the economy. Put Americans back to work. Well, now we've got Biden in office, and you can say all you want about Biden, but he just passed the Infrastructure Act. These are all things that you can Google. And it's trillions of dollars worth of federal contracts. And the smart contractors, the guys that are smarter than you, what they're doing is they're riding the up economy, but when the economy starts going down into free fall, they're splitting off into federal contracts right at the top here. And then they're staying over here and splitting off into federal contracts here. You know, it sounds a little bit weird to say that something could be recession-proof, but the fact of the matter is our federal government stays steady and spends all this money every year on maintaining all these buildings across the United States. That's why my ad doesn't say make your company recession-proof, because if I say that in an advertisement, nobody's ever going to click on it because it sounds stupid. But the fact of the matter is, to be recession-proof, you need to be doing federal contracts. What you got here, Craig? Sound like you were going to say something.
No.
So we're the guys, for the last 10 years, we've been teaching contractors how to succeed in the federal market. And it's a 3-day workshop. You know, I can't teach it in 3 hours. And it looks a lot like this. Here, I'll just play some of the workshop. Whoops, wrong button.
And then put the BIG over the opportunities. Big problems equal big opportunities. If somebody needs something, and they really need it, they're desperate to get it done, you understand? That's the opportunity you're looking for, the need. Okay? You focus on the need. Everything gets focused on the need. What's the need? Do you have a budget? Once I understand the need, I focus on it, I understand it, repeat it back to them. Is there anything else you want to elaborate on? Or anything else I should know? Okay, problems like that usually have a budget associated with it. Can you share that with me? Do you understand how we go from the need, fully understanding the need?
So that's part of day one of the workshop. Here's part of day two.
What the budget is before we
See, I don't have to tell them how much. I just have to use the word. What's the FAR say? Cost. So I told him, we had cost. And he said, you did? Can you see from his perspective, we didn't? But I said, because what did we do? Nothing. I said, yeah, we had cost. He said, well, okay, send it over. We'll look at it. Okay? So then I told Seth to come up with his costs. He had to consult an expert on what to do with this problem, so I sent over a bill. Okay? He had conversation, he had cost of procuring a federal contract. And I specifically told him, how much was his contract amount? I told him that I wanted his costs
And here's
to
part
be
of day 3.
$7,200.
Do you remember me saying that the rule was if there's only one bidder, and that bidder is 15% or more above the government estimate, they cannot award the contract? Why does our government, in their infinite wisdom, have that rule? Anybody?
Tax dollars money.
Protects tax dollars, right? Because Sally, what's she trying to do? Get George's job done. He needs it. It's his money. He went and asked for it to fix his fish hatchery. It's sitting on her desk. He needs it done. It's not going to get done until she finds a contractor she can award it to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So what you're actually investing in with me is access to that footage. In other words, before the pandemic, we were bringing people into the room to teach them, but when the pandemic hit, I couldn't bring people in the room anymore. So I took the recordings that I already had of the live events that we did, and I put them like this. Day 1 is 10 hours. Day 2 is 11 hours. Day 3 is 7 hours. So we used to do it on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then this is kind of an update video because things change over time. And it's just me kind of updating things. I usually tell people just watch this video first. But when you invest with me, you're getting access to the 3-day workshop. And of course, you can hit play, you can hit pause, you can play with your new grandkid, come back and hit play again. If you have questions, you can just get on a Zoom with me and you can say, hey Sean, you just said this in the workshop, can you break it down for me? And I'll get up here and I'll break it down for you. So it's interactive in that sense that you still have access to the guy that's actually teaching the class. But that's what you're investing in with me is access to that 3-day training so that I can launch you into the federal market.
So at the end of that 3-day training, obviously you got to go through you've got to go through a vetting process. And
There is no vetting process. You just have to get your company SAM registered. My wife can do that for you. It takes about 10 days to 2 weeks, typically. And then once you're SAM registered, that there's no vetting. It's just a process of paperwork.
Okay. And then once you're SAM registered, now you're saying SAM, S-A-M, right?
Yes, it stands for System for Award Management. It's a government acronym. It's called
Right.
SAM.gov. Yep.
So once you're registered for that, then you go out looking for bids, right?
Yeah, but except that we developed a system for doing that. It's called Bid Tracker. It looks
Okay.
like this.
Okay, I did look at that. So that is your system?
I spent $250,000 inventing this. It is my system.
Okay. And so only people that are
In my
Have a-
program have
In your
access to that.
have access to that. Okay.
Yep.
So, and that covers any federal bid that's put out in the country, correct?
Correct. In fact, right now, in the next 30 days, it's got over 500 solicitations in it.
Okay.
And it's always a consistent and constant 30-day look ahead. So in the next 30 days, 500 federal contracts are in my system and are on the street to be bid.
So is there a particular area that it's that these contracts or that your system is
We don't tell the government how to spend their money. The government tells the public how they're going to spend their money. We just want to be the middleman between what we can sell it for to the government and the guys across the country that know how to do the work.
right? So, like what you do, not every contract that the government puts out, you put in your system. What are the categories that that you include in the bid tracker. You know what I'm saying? Like you would not do computers, right? Would not
That's
be in
right.
the bid.
Computer jobs are not in bid tracker, correct. It's anything that a construction contractor would normally do.
So remodeling, windows, roofing, siding,
You name it. If it's construction related, if it's parking lot resurfacing, parking lot repainting, replacement of lights in the parking lot, replacement of a transformer, replacement of a roof, installing an air conditioner, installing a chiller.
Right. So, Sean, when you get awarded a federal contract, tell me about the experiences that you've had with how do they pay, for, say it's, I'm just trying to think of, you're doing a roof and it's going to take you 2 weeks, 3 weeks to do that.
Can I interrupt you, Greg?
Sure.
Because I already know what your question is. You don't have to finish it. I've been in this space for 30 years. Okay? What you're referring to is how do I get my money?
There you go.
It's called the Prompt Payment Act. And when I say act, I mean it's an act of Congress. It's law. And I'm going to quote you what that law says, the pertinent part. It says the contractor shall be paid monthly or more often as deemed necessary by the contracting officer on a percentage complete basis. Percentage complete basis.
Okay.
So under your scenario in your head, if you're getting paid monthly or more often as deemed necessary by the contracting officer, and you've got a contract for, let's just say, $200,000, you tell me what percent you're complete when you turn your pay application in while we're role playing here.
Okay, 25%.
Okay, so then you would be entitled to $50,000. So you're 25% complete of a $200K contract. Okay, and so you would be entitled to $50,000, and it would be paid within 14 days in accordance with the Prompt Payment Act.
Okay. And all contracts work that way?
It's the Prompt Payment Act. That's a federal law. So
Okay.
it's all contracts, yes.
Okay. Now, when we did the contracts, so we did, transactions every day, right? Because we were dealing it with.
Yes, but you were dealing with supply contracts, not construction contracts.
Yeah.
That's a different section of the payment clause. Okay,
Right.
I'm talking only about construction.
So they had a P card, right, that they attached to it. So once an item was ordered online through our system, we would get paid immediately.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter because I'm telling you how it works on the construction side, and you're talking
Right.
about the supply side, and that's
Yeah,
apples and oranges.
Okay. I was curious as to if any of these federal type contracts, if they utilized a P card where you
No.
could get money.
They're
Okay.
paid in accordance with the Prompt Payment Act, just like I spelled out.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's the biggest one. I mean, because when they start thinking about federal contracts, they start the red tape, the bureaucracy, and so forth.
Yeah,
goes
except
with
that
it.
it's not bureaucracy and it's not red tape. It's spelled out in a law. This is a law. It's an act. It's the same thing as the Civil Liberties Act or the Davis-Bacon Act or the Infrastructure Act or the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act. These are all acts of Congress. They're law.
Right. So we never experienced that, bureaucracy or whatever. They were just, for the most part, just pretty streamlined. And so that's the reason that when I saw the ad, I was like, this is, I'm interested. So
Sure.
Why don't you've taught these classes and you probably fielded a gazillion. What am I not asking that you think would be pertinent?
That's like me asking you. You've been around. I mean, you look to be at least my age or a little bit older, okay? And then saying, "Tell me the highlights of your career." That could be an hour-long conversation or 10-hour-long conversation. If you got questions, look, we're in no hurry. I've got another half an hour here if you want it, okay? Sit back, collect yourself, and ask the questions to your heart's delight. I'll give you straight answers. I mean, really, look, there is no sales pitch to my conversations. There is no PowerPoint. There is no agenda here, okay? All this is a conversation for, look, contractors are constantly getting smoke blown up their ass. They've got really good bullshit detectors, okay? And this conversation is really about two things. Number one, you got to decide, is this guy full of shit or not? And then number two, you got to decide, if I do want to go into the federal market, am I the guy you want to go into the market with? That's really all this this is just a conversation. At the end of this thing, you're not going to hear, if you buy now. It's nothing like that. It's just a conversation. Right. If you got questions, I'll sit here as long as you want and answer them. No bullshit.
Right. So, coming out of the program, contracts are out there. That. So, how long do I get to? How long are you part of the program?
Well, I have a membership program. That bid tracker system, I invested $250,000 to build that thing. It cost me $25,000 a month to operate it. I got 2 full-time guys on that, making sure it's perfect all the time. So that when my guys are looking for contracts, they just come in here to the list and they click sync. Sync. How long did that take, Greg? Sync. Sync. How long is this taking?
That's pretty quick.
Okay, and then in the background, what's happening is those jobs are loading onto my computer. Right now, you don't see a folder in here at all because it's in the sync process. It takes about 30 seconds, but there it is. It just popped up. You see that?
Yeah.
And now these are the jobs that I just clicked sync on. And then inside here is the files you need to bid the job. I mean, what a time saver that is to anybody who's in the construction business. You just click sync. That's all you got to do. That costs a lot of money to operate, so I charge $600 a month for access to that. But with access to that, you also get access to me.
Right. Gotcha. So once I clicked on a bid, and going through the bid, do you help the people in your program?
If you have questions how to do that, you betcha. Look, I've been doing this for over 10 years. This doesn't say government construction idiots, it says experts. I tell people that are in my program that if you want to talk an hour a day and you've got something interesting to talk about, then we'll talk an hour a day. Don't call me and ask about the weather in Austin, Texas. I don't care about the weather in Austin, Texas. People call me when they have questions about federal contracts. And I answer those questions.
Okay. So the training, what's the training cost?
$5,000.
And that's a 3-day class.
It is.
Is that via?
Again, it looks just like this. This is, when you invest with me, it redirects you to this page. It's this. You hit play. It's that simple.
So I go through the training at the speed I want to go through the training.
Absolutely. If you want to pause it and come back to it later, you can pause it and come back to it later. Absolutely.
Okay.
If you want to rewind it and go, what the hell did that idiot just say? You can rewind it and see what that idiot just said.
So who's been the longest in your program thus far?
Well, that's easy. You just go to my proof page. Have you been to my proof page?
No, I'm.
Are you familiar with the word indisputable?
Yes.
What does indisputable mean, Greg?
I would say that it's beyond reproach.
That's right, beyond reproach. So here's a guy that was in my class, and if you hit play on this video, he says, "Oh my God, you guys are awesome." But how do I know he left the class and got contracts? Well, the answer to that question is I know the company name, AMG. You can see on his shirt, AMG. And right here, I'm saying, me, Sean Reitmeyer, I'm saying he got $4 million in contracts, but I could be lying to you, Greg. So you click this button, which takes you to a public website. This website is usaspending.gov. And if you go on to his... Okay?
I watched that.
You can see in here that he started getting federal contracts when he went through our class. You come down here, Andy of NBT. You click on his public profile, and you can see he got $7.6 million in contracts after he went through our class. Every one of these things, this guy got $34 million in contracts. How do I know? You click on his button, you go to the public profile, $35 million in contracts, right when he started going through our class. It is beyond reproach. It is, you can't argue that this isn't true. That all these guys went through my class and started getting federal contracts. It's indisputable.
Right. So, who's your longest program member that has been with you?
Probably Carlos Baz.
How long has he been with you?
Since 2010. But I mean, I got another guy, Jeremy Barrett, been with me since 2010. I got, let's see, David Snodgrass. That was probably 2010, 2011. I got Eric. Why is his last name escaping me? Eric. I'll show you his page. cexperts.com/Eric. Eric Morris. Eric Morris has been with me since around 2012, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got some guys that have been with me a long time. Why do you ask?
Right. No, I just if somebody was only, in the program for 6 months, and they drop out, then that's a red flag, right?
Oh, okay. Well, it's not a red flag. It's not. Let me explain to you why it's not a red flag, Greg. Because if you're asking me for the people that examples of people that went through my program and weren't successful, all you got to do is ask me that question. So say the words, Greg. Give me an example of somebody that wasn't successful.
No, I'm more interested because I know not everybody is going to be successful that goes through the program. It's just if somebody's been with you 10 years, if you do it right, obviously there's a value there. Nobody's going to be with you 10 years or 5 years or whatever if there's no value to the system.
Okay. Well, I've got guys going back from the very beginning when we started. Absolutely,
right.
Unconditionally, and indisputably.
Right. So I'm not, let me ask you, so people who don't do well or don't succeed, drop out, what's the number, or why does that happen?
That's a good question. And I can't speak to specific individuals, but I'll give you categories, okay? So one category is, hey, Sean, it's Monday morning. Can you help me log into my AOL email address? Okay? If you can't get into your own email, you're probably not going to be successful in my program. In that category, I'm not kidding, I've got probably 3 or 4 people that have had the money to invest in my program, went through the program, and they're just too stupid to do anything with it. Okay? Then there's this other category that comes through my program. Hey, that's real neat, shiny shit, man. The federal government contracts, we need to get into that. So they go through the training. But it was just a shiny object. They had no desire to actually do the work and start bidding federal contracts. They just got busy with their regular business, kept going. They didn't ask for their money back, but they didn't do anything with it. I got probably 15, 20 guys that fit in that category. Okay?
Right.
But by and large, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish what you're saying.
By and large, most people that go through my program, if they do what I tell them to do and start getting bids in, if they have questions, call me, get me on the phone, let me help you get your bids together so that they're what's called responsive. Okay? If you do the work and you work with me, almost everybody starts getting federal contracts about 90 days after the training.
Okay. Is the workers, if you land a contract, say it's a remodeling contract, excuse me, do you have to use union workers on that contract?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. So if I'm doing work on site, and I need to, it has plumbing, it has HVAC, it has electrical. Those trades do not have to be union
Correct.
people. Okay.
Correct. I already said that. When I said absolutely not, I meant categorically across the board, no.
So when in a facility like at Oak Ridge, when is union required? I mean, I've got a close friend. They're a union electrical contractor, and they do a lot of work with like TVA and the federal government. So when is that required?
It's not required. Categorically, no. I've been in this space for over 3 decades. There is no requirement that you use a union outfit to do the work. None. Categorically, no. And I suspect that anybody who's telling you otherwise has some association with a union and has some agenda to tell you that that's the case.
Well, no, they didn't say one way or the other. It was just they do a lot of, and so I just assumed that you've got to be.
Then you assumed wrong. And here's what I'll tell you: instead of making assumptions, ask questions, or make interpretations, or say I interpreted this way, but I'm just telling you, you just assumed wrong. It's not your fault.
Yeah, just interesting.
Yeah, I tend to blow people's minds.
So, well, I definitely want to go through it and look all the information that you've sent over. I want to vet through all that.
I would encourage you to do that. Look, I never expect when I have these conversations that somebody's going to go, oh my God, here's my credit card. That's not what this is about. This is just a conversation between 2 guys. Whatever you have to do on your side is what you have to do on your side. I got no problem with that. I was here last year. I'll be here, God willing, next year.
So yeah, once I do that, I want to reach back out and I'll shoot you an email with some of the things I want to talk about,
Sure.
questions, and that way. So
Talk is cheap, Greg. I'm happy to have any conversation you want to have. As long as it's related to federal contracts, I'll talk to you all day long.
yeah, no, it'll be that. So okay, well let me do some homework and then I'll circle back with you.
I'll be here, Greg.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
You too.
But the purpose of the business funnel, the purpose of business, if you go down, this is a big problem. You go down the street, just any stranger, you say, what's the purpose of business? What are they going to tell you? To make money, right? That's a big problem. Let me tell you why it's a big problem. The minute